This is the Media Police Post, broadcasting from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this show, we police the state of truth in the Republic. And because truth is communicated to us by journalists and analysts, we have made it our civic duty at the Fort Hall School of Government to put it to the test. We advance from two confirmed truths about the media. One, and according to Roger Stone, the media is either lazy or evil, and for the most part, it is both evil and lazy. That is why the truth, their truth, must be put to a test. Two, that journalism is verified gossip. In fact, what is presented to us as news analysis is gossip that has been verified by journalists. This gossip has to be ground truth. We will assess the state of the truth in what they submit to the Republic, and we will pass verdict on what is true and what is not. For the record, we are not journalists, we are thinkers. We are not lazy or evil, and we do not verify gossip. What we give you is the truth that sets you free. On today's show, we will discuss ideas that reflect unformed and uninformed opinions, and ideas that made you a little bit stupid. Narratives that fell into the cognitive trap of we see things as we are and not as they are, and narratives based on conjuncture history, and those that smack of envelope journalism. Welcome, CS and Ms. K.
Thank you. Last Friday, the 11th of June, there was a press release issued by the State Law Office and signed by the Solicitor General, which refuted reports that were circulating claiming that the High Court had declared the Nairobi Metropolitan Services to be unconstitutional. A public notice was also issued by the NMS refuting the same claim. Unfortunately, some quarters had already started celebrating the misinformation, calling it another victory for the judiciary, and not really appreciating what the real implication of this might have been. Fortunately, however, the legal status and constitutionality of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services was settled in a 2020 case, a case in which there was a demonstration of balanced judicial reasoning that was mindful of the impact of its decisions on citizens. It brings us back to the issue of balancing substance and procedure. The judgment in this case was issued in June of 2020 by the hand of Honorable Lady Justice Wasilwa. The Honorable Lady Justice at that point in time conceded there were some issues that needed to be clarified in so far as the establishment of the NMS was concerned. Now, instead of undoing the whole edifice and reversing all the effort, time and investment that had been put into NMS, the Honorable Lady Justice took cognizance of a number of key issues that led her to exercise restraint, and I would even go so far as to say it was a Solomonic decision. Having noted that there were a number of procedural issues that needed to be remedied, instead of cutting the baby in half, the Lady Justice instead took a pause and highlighted the court's power to ensure the rights and freedoms of citizens even while giving effect to the letter and spirit of the law. In doing so, she onboarded persuasive authorities from South Africa and Canada to direct that any adverse findings that could be made against NMS would be suspended so as to give the government enough time to correct any defects in procedure or to submit clarifications, as was later done. In arriving at a decision, the court took into consideration the reasons and purpose for establishment of NMS. These included the fact that the county government at the time was constrained, the fact that service delivery and execution of functions would be more effectively performed and exercised by the national government. Add to this the fact that so much was at stake since Nairobi is the seat of government, the largest commercial hub in Central and East Africa, and home to over 4 million people. The court also took note of the money expended and the thousands of employees whose livelihoods would hang in the balance. The Lady Justice therefore took the view that declaring NMS illegal would cause confusion and pandemonium. The prudence of this Solomonic decision in June of 2020 was further reinforced in subsequent ruling in September of 2020, which found that the establishment of NMS was actually above board because it was later confirmed that the county assembly was involved, as were citizens from each of the 17 sub-counties, in addition to the proper observance of other processes. As we speak, NMS has built 24 new hospitals in Nairobi. Mama Lucy Hospital has been upgraded into a level 5 hospital. Mbagathi Hospital is also being upgraded, and even the Korogosho Mathare North Hospital, which was started over 19 years ago, will finally be completed by this year, complete with a doctor's housing scheme. As we speak, there's a new bus and matatu terminus that has been constructed at Green Park. which includes a medical facility that offers free and subsidized medicine as well as subsidized fuel and offers employment as priority to the otherwise abled. In addition to Green Park, 2 other terminals will be built at Grogan and Bunyala, in addition to garages for PSVs at Utalii College as part of an elaborate decongestion scheme. As we speak, more than 3,000 jobs and counting have been created through the Kazim Tani program covering the 17 constituencies. This is in addition to a rehabilitation program for street children and street families that has even resulted in families being reunited. For example, Grogan Road, which had not been in use for over 20 years, was built to international standards by street children, and not a single shilling was lost. The list is long of things achieved and lives transformed. But the moral of the story is this: just imagine if in June last year, Lady Justice Wasilwa had not made such a balanced and Solomonic decision. The real cost is the opportunity cost of all the lives positively affected by the achievements we have just highlighted. What this shows is that the judiciary can be a powerful force when it adopts a theory of justice that isn't limited to a Puritan view of the law. For example, the 2017 election nullification cost us 1 trillion in 123 days. This translates to 1 billion every hour. And that is just in money terms. But what do we have to show for it? Don't worry, we'll wait.
Last week, I do like that exposition on NMS and what it has done and what it could continue to do. I would like to take us back to the judiciary and speak about something that happened last week. So last week, Kamotho Waiganjo wrote an article in the Standard which was titled, "Maraga and Mutunga only added more heat than light." So in the article, Mr. Waiganjo looks at the comments of the previous Chief Justices, Mutunga and Maraga, with regard to the matter of the swearing in of the Court of Appeal judges, as well as the current CJ Kome's handling of the matter. In his opinion, and I quote, "Our constitution is still young, and in this early season, intra-institutional disputes would be better handled away from the public eye for the better growth of our constitutional order." Mr. Waiganjo then states that by restating hardline positions while Chief Justice Kome is attempting to resolve the matter, the 2 former CJs jumped into the fray prematurely and added heat, not light, to the matter. And I agree with him. In fact, I will attempt to go further and say why this happened. I'd like to hypothesize that the judiciary in Kenya does not have a unified theory of justice founded in theory and philosophy that is applied to decision making. And this theory of justice would be known to the legal community and to the public. Now, the knowledge of the theoretical and philosophical principles that guide the judiciary would make the decisions of our courts consistent, predictable, reliable, and trustworthy. Now, if a theory of justice is not expressly stated, you can infer it based on the actions of the courts. So allow me to present you 2 theories of decision-making, and you can decide for yourself which theory of justice is applied in our courts. The first theory of decision-making is the formalist theory. For those in the formalist school, judicial decisions are the product of 2 fixed elements: the facts and the rule of law. The rule of law, as established by the Constitution, legislation, or precedent, is meticulously applied to the facts of the case, and this guides a judge's decision. So once the facts have been determined, the judge will find the appropriate rule of law, then make the correct decision. There is no room for strong judicial discretion. The second theory of decision-making is the realist theory. Now, realists stipulate that judges determine the outcome of a lawsuit before deciding whether the conclusion is in fact based on established legal principles. In other words, a judge reviews the facts presented. He decides how he or she will rule without first analyzing precedent or statutory law. And once the judge has reached a conclusion, he or she will then begin looking for existing principles in case law or statutory regulations that support their predetermined conclusion. According to Jerome Frank, therefore, a judge does not use the facts of the case or existing law in determining a case. He or she uses their individual traits, dispositions, biases, and habits to determine what they decide to be law. In your opinion, wouldn't it be in our interest to know which theory our judiciary subscribes to?
I'd like to know that as well. Good charge. So the media has told us that there is a major crisis in the current political settlement. We have 2 high-profile politicians from the same party, Jubilee, having a cold war, and of course this makes for good political theatre. It enables the media and civil society anarchists to paint the presidency as dysfunctional and to portray many of its most prominent figures as irresponsible. But the Chinese use two brushstrokes to write the word crisis. One brushstroke stands for danger and the other for opportunity. In a crisis, be aware of the danger but recognize the opportunity. And I see opportunity everywhere, not crisis. There have been some signs that a rebellion has been brewing in the House of Mumbi for some time now. And the Fourth Estate have reported that a hustler rebellion that began with the MPs and upper political establishment is now with the Watus. The Fourth Estate has also gone on to condition Kenyans that Uhuru Kenyatta has either buried the crisis alive and he will just wait to be alarmed by the consequences later. But I submit that the House of Mumbi and interested parties are simply anxious, and this anxiety is not historically new. This anxiety is perfectly normal in the run-up to an election. There was Gamma anxiety when Jomo died, and now Gamma is anxious that Uhuru is leaving office. And it is not curious that every time a Kalenjin is about to inherit a Kikuyu, constitutional change is actually proposed. So in 1977, when Moi was about to inherit Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, the Kikuyu elite began the Change the Constitution movement. They wanted to bar Moi from the presidency. Almost 40 years on, the son of Jomo is to be inherited by a Kalenjin, and the elite are again proposing constitutional change. Maybe if RUTO wants to become president, he must first crack this puzzle. And just what if BBI actually offers the easiest route for RUTO to become president? An option his predecessors did not have. Either way, RUTO must not forget that other than in Moi's circumstance, no one is yet to become president in their first attempt. Kibaki tried 3 times, Uhuru tried 2 times, and Raila, well, he's still trying. So thank you for joining us on the Media Police Post. See you next Monday.